Welcome back to the road trip, and we're here at Prairie Battery with Peter Vanderlinden, President, Chief Cook, and Bottle Washer, and likes to hold batteries for no reason other than he just loves them. Peter, thanks for joining us on the road trip.
You're welcome. Pleasure to be here.
Now, about the battery that you're holding there, now I've heard of the Optima name for many years, and I know it's actually been used predominantly in applications where there's been a lot of electrical demand, like say high-end car stereos and such. But my understanding is that something like this actually isn't the newest technology anymore.
No, it's not. It was the battery that started the technology where we're at today. It was the first real pure lead AGM battery that designed by the Gates Corporation. But it's the battery can sit in any orientation except upside down, of course, for any extended period of time. They won't leak, provide a lot of power. With an absorbed glass mat, electrons can travel back and forth through the AGM mat. There's no polypropylene separator because they don't need to separate the active material because everything's pressed in tight, so you don't have that plate shedding problem that you have with a conventional battery. So with a conventional AGM battery, the compression is they're in there snug. With a pure lead thin plate, they are compressed.
Now, Peter, it's one thing to have a good technology for your battery, but how do you keep the battery conditioned and make sure that it's always going to be ready to use when you need it?
Well, the best thing is to use a charger. And today there's a variety of chargers out there. We carry 3 main lines of chargers, a C-Tech charger, a NOCO Genius charger, and a battery tender. Battery tender was probably the first one out with the technology, a 3-stage charge that you could leave it, it would maintain it, regulate it, never have to worry about it. Batteries are becoming a little more sophisticated. We've got AGM rather than just flooded. So the battery needs a little more tender loving care, if you will. These C-Tech and NOCO chargers, they do that. They can pulse charge. They have the recovery mode. They have power supply. So if you just want to work on your car and you want a constant power supply, they can provide that. So yes, chargers are becoming more and more important. Cars today are coming built with onboard chargers. So it's a very, very important part of the car nowadays.
Now, Peter, in a former life, I had to use an inverter quite a bit to keep a laptop running on the road. And when we think about some of the high power draw of some things like DVD systems, PlayStations, and the fact that a lot of manufacturers are putting inverters into their vehicles already, I've always wanted to ask the question, how much power do you really need?
Well, for like a laptop, a DVD, those types of appliances, they don't use a lot of power. A lot of the cars today come out with like a 150 watt or a 300 watt inverter, and that's sufficient power to run a laptop, a camcorder, to charge your cordless phone, your Apple, your iPod, you name it. That'll charge that. If you wanted to run something more like a tool, some tools and whatnot, you're looking into the 1,000 watt, 1,500 watt. I always like to correlate what I need for power is like a typical household circuit will provide 1,500 watts. So if you want to run a drill or anything like that that you'd plug in that you know draws a lot of current, you need a 1,500 watt inverter. Now you don't need it continuous power, so because it only draws the hard power for the first to get it started. A drill draws 1,500 watts to start. After that, it probably tones down to about 1,000. So an inverter like this is a 1,000 watt inverter. It's not very big, so it's very portable. If you wanted to use, it'll run a drill for you. It has a 2,000 watt peak, but 1,000 continuous. So it'll run a drill. It'll run a coffee pot, at your cabin or in your tool shed. If you wanted to, something you don't have power in, you just hook a battery to it. You can run a stereo. That sort of thing when you're working in your shop.
So if you failed in providing what was expected of you for Valentine's Day, for example, the doghouse may not be too bad if you're living in the car.
Absolutely. This one will provide you You can have a coffee pot. You can run the toaster oven for a while. Hook it up. As long as you have enough battery power, this thing will provide you a lot of necessities.